back with us, Ashley Parker, Mark McKinnon, and Max Rose. And Ashley, on Sunday, President Trump called this the biggest deal ever, but many of the things that he complained about, like the digital taxes, tech regulation, and demands to increase U.S. beef and poultry imports, they were not included. So what exactly did the White House accomplish here?
Right, and I would just also add some of the things that the Europeans are promising to do, such as invest in U.S. energy and buy more weapons from the United States, are things that Trump can claim as a victory, but things that the European Union and European countries were planning to do and were headed in that direction anyhow. I will also add, as you point out, this is a framework. We don't have a full deal. This feels more fulsome than other iterations where a deal is Trump sort of saying, I truthed it, I said it, therefore it's a deal. But in my talking with diplomats and people, European officials, there's still a sense that regardless of what happens with this, and you do see that they seem all in, the Europeans are hoping this is the 50% and it stays at that. There is a sense that the United States, in particular President Trump, is not reliable because it's 15% now. Before he had talked about 30%. He had talked about 20%. And there is a sense that while they are desperate, as are many American economists, desperate for some stability, that with Trump, just because there is a deal today, does not mean that that will hold in 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 years from now. And that backdrop, I think, is important to understand even just this framework within.
And Max, the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal was not so impressed with the president's deal here, writing that Trump abandoned certain demands that we have talked about in favor of his beloved tariff, as they say, which is a tax increase on American consumers and businesses, including for pharmaceutical imports and ingredients. Making Americans pay more for drugs via the tariff is an odd way to punish Europe for its price controls that let it have a free ride, essentially, on American drug innovation. So if lowering the cost of living and on some of these goods was actually the goal, what did Trump accomplish?
I mean, here's the crazy thing about all this. Obviously, if you put a 15% tariff on something, someone's got to pay. Okay, he's not a magician here. But let's say even under the craziest of circumstances, somehow the American consumer does not end up footing a majority of that bill, something we all know is impossible. Let's just play the game for a second. The crazy thing about this circumstance is that that money is only going to pay for a small portion of this crazy tax bill that the Republicans just pushed through that is going to rip a massive hole, a further hole in the deficit, only to support the wealthiest amongst us. So it's time that we actually started looking at this in the whole chessboard here, that even if everything they say is true actually comes to fruition, the deficit is still gargantuan and growing because of this horrific tax bill that they just pushed through.
Mark, a new poll from the Wall Street Journal shows 57% of Americans disapprove of these tariffs. Will Trump and ultimately maybe Republicans come the midterms pay the price for the trade war?
Oh, unquestionably they will. What's clear is that everybody's talking about the notion of predictability is better than volatility. Well, that's true to a certain extent, but when the predictability means that American consumers are going to pay up to 15% more for all those European goods, not to mention the higher tariffs coming from other countries, that's going to have a huge impact on the midterms. And you talked about it in the last segment a little bit about, what impact will FCC and all this have on the midterms. Well, the party in power, often has a difficult time keeping their majorities in either the Congress or the Senate because voters are holding them accountable for the things that they promised to do. And Donald Trump promised, first of all, and the Republicans to open up the Epstein files. So that's a problem. And then secondly, to make things more affordable in America for consumers. And it's going to be they're going to be paying higher taxes on these tariffs. So across the board on things that are fundamental to voters and consumers, they're going to be unenthusiastic about voting in the midterms.
Later this week, Ashley, 11 federal judges in the U.S. Court of Appeals will hear arguments on whether President Trump actually even has the legal authority to impose these tariffs. So how is the White House defending Trump's authority, and what happens if the federal courts say, nope, you don't?
Well, again, just not to bring everything back to Jeffrey Epstein, but this is one of the things, but to do that briefly, this is one of the things that the administration going in to this scandal, this controversy, was concerned about. They understand that it's not just enough to impose tariffs and get a deal on tariffs, right? It's not just enough to pass through massive legislation that some people like and some people really don't like. They have to sell it. They have to explain it. There are other steps. And every minute they're spending on the Jeffrey Epstein controversy is, and again, it's not that you can spin the courts, but is a moment they are not focused on things they may need to explain and may need to deal with. And so that is sort of the secondary down ballot effects of that.